Morning again. It is the day of my birthday and I'm not opening presents, instead of which I am battling with this seal. This is a replacement tailgate seal. The one that's currently on Dotty is not sealing correctly. Basically, it's got old and it's shrunk at the corners, which means that the chrome doesn't sit in right, which means the seal doesn't get pressed against the glass and the metal properly, and the water can run in at the top and then run down and leak, which is really annoying. So I have been on the internet trying to get a replacement seal. That is my replacement seal, but unfortunately I've been screwed over because I ordered what I thought was a brand new old stock Series 1 seal for €235. What turned up was a second-hand damaged seal. Has a big chunk out of it here, which is seriously annoying, and now the company has gone quiet on me and won't give me a refund, won't give me my money back or any of the rest of it. So it's going to go in the car, but that bit will need to be repaired with PU or black tiger seal, that sort of thing, just to try and hide that damage. But yeah, if you ever buy products from the Netherlands, do not deal with this guy called John, because he's a complete dickhead. Brit parts, so yeah, ignore him. Avoid dickhead. It's almost dawn. I started doing this at 10 to 7, it's now 10 to 8, and I've pretty much done, I would guess, half of it. All I'm trying to do is clean all of the old sealer and crap off this seal. The good news is, although there's some very light rust staining in the bit that goes on the metal, there's no actual rust, scale or crap in there, which is good. The bad news is that in this part of the seal, which goes against the glass, there's lots of rubbish, which is really difficult to get out, and it's imperative it comes out because I want the new glass to seal properly, because there's no point going through this whole operation if it still leaks. So I'm trying to do it before the glass guy comes, but it is a pain in the arse, so I'm just using Scotch-Brite and a blunt knife and some wire wool and a toothbrush, but it is taking forever. Not a happy bunny. Getting seriously fed up of this now. It's a really tedious, irritating job. I've come outside because it's actually properly daylight now and it's not as cold. I have cleaned up a lot of this, but it's a pain. The really annoying bit is probably one of the most important bits, which is the bit of the seal that goes against the glass in here. If I can open that up, you can see those channels. There's old sealer in them, so I'm having to go round with that knife chasing all of it around the whole of the periphery, and it's a real fiddle. And because it's quite cold, when that's warm water, or it was, it's now going cold again. When the seal is in there, you can open it up. As soon as it comes up, it stiffens up and it becomes a bit of a fight. So all of this would have been avoided if this dickhead in the Netherlands had actually sent me a new seal, not a damaged old one, because it's just annoying me. Never mind, I shall persevere. It is still better than the one that's currently on Dotty. The one on Dotty has shrunk, so can you see that is sitting in, which basically means it's an incredibly tight squeeze and the seal isn't being pushed hard against the metal and the chrome isn't being pulled down into the seal to open it up and push it against the glass. So it's an annoying problem of just using an old seal. This is why I wanted a new one. The one I've got over there, although it's damaged, it is at least less shrunk, so hopefully it'll be okay. But as I said, on the morning of my birthday, I have got better things to do, but never mind. The day is improving. I've just received my birthday presents. One of which is possibly a comment on my stupid long girly hair, because now I have a My Little Pony hairbrush with great hair accessories as well. So very much looking forward to using that. Tailgate seal replaced. It sits a lot better. It'll be interesting to see if it ever leaks. It shouldn't do. I haven't cleaned off all the butyl sealer yet. I'm going to wait for that to go a little bit tackier. But yeah, good job. Screen is in. The damaged bit is that bit there, so I've got to wait again for it not to be raining. Then that can be taped and then done with black. And the windscreen fitter actually sealed the chrome in that area as well, so even though that bit's damaged, it shouldn't affect the sealing of the windscreen. So all in all, good job. So I'm going to do other pretty things like fit new number plates. These are made up without the BS marking on it, which is good because they look nice. And again, I've gone for an older kind of typeface or font, if you want to call it that, with characters that are similar to those you would have had in the 80s. And the rear plate is taller. That's a standard front plate size. This is a taller rear, and the reason I do this is because they were like that back in the day on the rear of these. And that height, I think, I can't remember what it was now, 547? I can't remember now. But anyway, it's perfect for the size of the tail lights. So once that's in, it'll just really make the back of the car look proper and 80s. So it's these little details. Sometimes if you put a standard size plate in there, depending on whether it's sitting high or low, it really changes the look of the rear of an SD1. So if you go on Google Images and you just type Rover SD1 rear, depending on different plate sizes, you'll see actually the car can look quite odd. So I'm going to crack on and do some of this nice stuff. For the rear, I'm going to be using double-sided sticky because I really don't want to drill holes in the car. So I've degreased the back of the plate and the back of the car. These plates I got from Fancy Plates or Plates for Cars. They're in Ireland, which means you don't have to send a copy of your V5, you don't have to do any of that crap, and they'll make stuff up without the BS marks, non-standard stuff. So it's great, and mail order, and they come in about 2 days or so. I've also bought the sticky pad kit from them, so this is the proper really good stuff. So hopefully this will go on no issues and stay on no issues. There's quite a lot of that. Front one will be drilled and screwed, and I'll explain why in a minute. How good does that look? Nice. It's got quite a warm amber to it as well, not like some of the feeble yellow you get on some cars. So I'm really pleased with that. Gonna go find the screw kit for the front. Basically, the front badge plinth is actually quite curved. If I use sticky, I'm not 100% sure it's going to stay on. And with the front one, it gets a lot more weather, a lot more impact. So it'll pay to have that screwed on nicely. It's funny how quite a simple job can actually be quite involved in a bizarre way. Basically, I want that screwed through there, but I don't want to hit that, so I've just been measuring it up and taping it to make sure that I don't go through. So we're stupid, and then I've got my clearance hole drill bit for the screw in here, and then I'll have to drill pilot holes in here so that the tapper goes in. There we go. Fitted, looks good. We also have not entirely sure where I'm up to on videos again, but today I aim to have the car on the ground and actually mobile, and I mean driving. that's the plan. I've got quite a lot to do. I need to reinstate the radiator, the cooling system, fill it with coolant. I need to fit the fuel filler neck, some of the breather pipes, and re-terminate the fuel line in the engine bay. I need to pull out all of the modified wiring for the battery, just put in a standard terminal and get rid of the cutout switch. I need to fit the front brake pads, fit my new rear brake line, bleed the brakes, bleed the clutch, and then try and start it, and then try and drive it. I also need to put a carpet and find a seat to put in it so I can at least shunt it around. So it's going to be a long day. It's about 10 o'clock, it's quite damp, and it's going to get dark about 4:30, so I need to get a wriggle on. I'm going to start, I think, with the brake line and fuel lines under the car. This is my new brake line. That's the rear end, that's the front end. And I've just made the ends that I need with new unions. It's bent very, very approximately to shape, following the old one, but obviously it'll have to be final fit and then straightened on the underside of the car. And it's a little bit over length because it's always easier to lose length than it is to stretch length on these. So I'm going to get under the car in the damp, get that roughly in position, terminate it, and then I'll go through and make it look pretty afterwards. That's the first job ticked off. Brake line is in, follows the path of the original. There is one or two clips I'm missing, relatively straight up here, around there, and then through to the back. But yeah, I'm missing two clips, so I need to go and buy some or find them. Next on the list is the fuel filler neck and the grommet. I can never remember quite what order you're supposed to do it. I think you put the pipe through from the underside, and then somehow you fiddle the grommet around the lip and the car at the same time. I remember it being a pain. I can't quite remember how much of a pain, but I'm about to do battle. Then you have the big chunky breather, which is that one, and then the little spindly breather, which is that one. So can't really get it wrong, it's just a bit of a fight. Well, that was a fight, got it in there. I had to post the tube all the way through, fit the grommet to the car, and then pull the tube back through. Unfortunately, whilst trying to feed the grommet in, I scratched it with a screwdriver, but the paint on the car is fine, it's just in the back there, so I'll treat it with something. These are the little special rubber grommety things that, damn it, go in those holes to stop the fuel flapper damaging the paint, so they're quite important. So I'll get some WD-40 on those, try and squeeze them in there. I didn't even damage the paint, so that's good. Fits nicely, aligned nicely. Job's a good one. That's the rear end all done and bottomed out as far as fuel is concerned. But at the front we have a slightly bodged up affair. On the original car it would have been this stiff plastic hose all the way from the tank to the original fuel filter, which would have been there. This has been messed about. I do have an original fuel filter somewhere with the correct unions, I think, to screw into there, but I'll have to go and double check. The problem's going to be joining plastic hose to the fuel delivery at the carbs properly, because this has been done by just putting a fuel line around a cable tube lead clip between the rubber hose and the plastic hose, and that seems to have worked, but it's not ideal. So I'm going to go find a filter and find some other bits and pipe and see if I can make something better. Here's one I prepared earlier. This is an original, largely unmolested car. You can see you've got the plastic pipe there going into the fuel filter, which is directly on the rail, and the fuel pipe comes up here all the way from the tank as plastic. So I'm going to go dig through my boxes of bits and see if I can make that up again. Once again, this is where I'm really pleased. I'm a hoarder. I've taken the sort of bodged up bit of pipe off the rail there. The car should have a filter like this. This is quite rare now to get. Quite quite expensive when you do find them. This one was 30 quid, but it's an original Land Rover fuel filter, and it's the correct one, which has little brass olives which get crushed onto the plastic. And you know, the plastic doesn't have a barb on the end. You'll see Rimmer Brothers and some other companies trying to pass off generic beaded filters which just leak and then cause people's cars to catch fire, and they've been reported, but they still keep selling them. So yeah, these are the ones you want if you can find them. So basically this end of it will screw to the fuel rail like so, correct fitting. That means that that stabilizing bracket, which is also bent, will be good to go again. That holds the filter in position. It's actually missing off my gold car around the front, which I showed a moment ago. Then this piece of pipe is the same as that, but longer. That's actually off a Vitesse or a Vandenplast EF5, and the difference being it has a proper beaded swaged union thing in there, so you can put high pressure fuel hose on it, whereas the carb cars go from that union all the way to the tank with just the plastic pipe. So the pipe on the car is too short to reach that one, but it does reach that one. And then to join the two, in my box of amazing spares, I have the proper job connector for connecting these kinds of plastic pipes. The reason you have to get this type one is because it has a plastic collar inside which will deform and grip the plastic pipe without crushing it, and it has this stub there again to stop the pipe from collapsing. So these are the real deal. I think I bought this at one of the car shows. I bought two of them, and I think they were either 7 or 11 quid each, so they're not cheap, but they're the right thing for this job. So all it means is I can now terminate the original fuel pipe to the engine bay, and the only thing that won't be original is that proper job connector. So I will do that, but first of all I want to take the cam covers off again, pour a little bit of oil in, and I also want to swap the cork gaskets for modern rubber ones because they just seal a bit better. In my experience, if you pull the cam covers off that have had cork gaskets and then you try and reuse the cork gasket, they just leak, and you don't want it to leak because it's right above your manifold and you'll get a nice toasty oil fire. For those of you who have only come into this video series later, this is one of the reasons this car's being rebuilt. Basically, the whole of the top of the engine looks pristine. You don't often open Rover V8 engines and find them like that. So that's why this project kind of carried on, and I didn't just break the car. That and the fact that there was actually no welding needed in the fronts here, which is kind of weird for one of these, and there was no welding needed in and around the scuttle area at all. So although the rest of it looked dreadful, the core of the car was good, and the heart of the car looked like it had some money spent on it. What was I showing you? Oh yeah, this is an original cork gasket fitted on P6s, P5Bs, SD1s and the beginnings of the Range Rovers. But then they switched to those which are rubber, and they seal much better and they're a bit more compliant. So that's why I'm swapping these, and I'm doing it now because if I do the fuel and then I want to get to the rockers, I can't actually get in there without taking all the fuel off again. So it just made sense. And it was all going so well until I realised that that is just a gnat's cock too small for this plastic pipe, which is really annoying. I don't know why this has happened, because I swear I've used these on these cars before, but yeah, basically I need the next size up from that. So I'm gonna revert back to a temporary jury rig and just join from the rail to the pipe with standard fuel hose for the moment. It's only low pressure, it's only going to be shunted around, and at least that'll keep it mobile, and I'll order one of them in the right size. It should be here in a few days. Temporary installation complete using high pressure brand new fuel injection hose and 2 new clips, so that's fine for initial drivey roundy purposes. I'm not going to terminate it now because when I try and start it I want to purge that fuel line into a bucket or something just before I start putting fresh fuel through that filter. I could cry. I've just filled it up with coolant and I wondered what that puddle down there was, and unfortunately the car has developed a leak there where I've obviously dropped the radiator or dropped something on it. So that means that I'm not going to be driving the car because I don't want to fill it up or bleed it up, only to have to take the radiator out and repair it. So I'm going to drain the coolant again now, whip that out, and then work out how to fix it. I've replaced the other rocker cover gasket with a rubber one here. I've started going through the wiring, but I removed the, where is it? Oh, I don't know what I've done with it now, but the cut-off switch, the motorsport cut-off switch. But unfortunately, whoever had this car first seized and snapped the thread that's part of the engine loom, or sorry, the car body loom, and which bolts through the terminal. So basically, all of this lot needs to be re-terminated with a nice new battery terminal, which I don't have. So I've got to get one of those too. And basically, there's so many little bits and pieces, I'm just going to delay firing it up and work all this coming week on it in the evenings to try and button all these things down and do it once, do it properly. And that'll give me time to get the correct fuel union as well, get the carpet in, get a seat in, get the brakes done, bled up, driving, clutch bled up, and then we can actually properly move it about. Today really isn't going as planned. I've just started checking over the front hubs and brakes because I wanted to identify what calipers they are. They're basically the same as SD1 Vitesse, and they take SD1 Vitesse type pads. They just happen to be single circuit rather than twin. But as I was cracking off the bleed nipple and pushing the pistons back in, I developed a leak of brake fluid down there. So basically the brake pipe which runs across the transmission tunnel has failed, but it's tucked up behind the bulkhead insulation. So I'm going to have to basically undo that line, remake it, put another one back in, but that's quite annoying. It's getting dark and I haven't achieved anywhere near as much as I'd hoped. The brake line that I need to get to is that one under there, where it was in there. Here it is. Runs down behind the brake proportioning valve, under the steering column, under the brake line that I've already installed, under the clutch line, then across the bulkhead and around to the other side. I've had to remove this one in order to get a spanner onto that one, but even so, it's still wedged in there, so I'm going to have to cut it and then remake it, and when I reroute it I'm going to have to come in over the top of the column because I don't see how I'm going to be able to get in there without taking apart the column, the brake proportioning valve and all the other brake lines. So rather annoying, but necessary. Well, as annoying as it is to find corroded brake pipes, I'm over the moon I did find this one, because that's really bad. That could have gone at any point. So yeah, mightily relieved that that was when I was pushing the pistons back and not when it was being driven. So I'm gonna go make me up a new brake pipe. I wouldn't ordinarily reuse union ends, but I don't have quite the right ones for this installation. These are the ones I've got. They're a lot deeper overall length, but they also have a much deeper lead in before you actually get to the threaded section. That's a problem because on that brake proportioning valve you don't have a lot of room and the port isn't very tall. So if I put that in, I'm only going to get a couple of threads before it's trying to bottom out effectively. So I am going to reuse that one, so I'll clean it up. And the same goes for the other end. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that union end itself, it's just a bit corroded. The only ones I've got are for larger bore pipe, not 3/16. So unfortunately I'm just going to have to reuse that one. So I'll clean them up, make some pipe to length, and then start making the ends. I'm going to show how this tool works again because I didn't show it earlier. I did on one of the diesel videos I made because I had to make quite a few brake pipes for that, I think, but I'll just run through it again. It's quite a handy tool, that. So kind of unscripted, unplanned, but this is a mini demo of what I'm up to with this brake pipe. I've cleaned the terminal end off, the union end off, and threaded it on, and now I need to make a beaded end but a sort of convex end. This is the tool I'm going to use. It's a reversible tool where the clamp holds the pipe, and then you screw the former into the end, and because the pipe is clamped, it basically crushes the end and mushrooms the end of the copper tube to the sort of shape that you want. That's the concave end. And then the other union end that I'm going to be fitting is, I don't know what I've done with it now, but basically one of these with a flanged end, sort of concave, and you use that end for that. So I'll quickly show you. I'll try and do it. It's not very easy doing it one-handed. In fact, I'll use mouth cam holder again. Excuse me. No, I won't, because the camera's really oily and I've got a horrible taste in my mouth. 1 second. Let's try this again. Pipe is threaded through there, and the tool is set with that line to the outer body of this. And what I usually do is push this all the way home, pushing it in, and then I tighten this a tiny bit until I see that it's actually pushing this pipe out, and then I know that it's in the right position to clamp. So wang those two up. A bit of grease or WD-40 often helps with this, just helps it form the end rather than grabbing it. But then all you do is basically wind that in until it goes really stiff. You can kind of sort of get a feel for, I mean, I could go tighter, but it would probably just destroy it, and I just kind of, you just have a knack for how far to go. You could feel the material sort of plasticizing up, and when it goes rock hard, you just don't go any more than that. That's all you need to do to form this type of union end, because it just leaves you with that convex beaded shape. For the other end, you start off with exactly the same procedure, but once you've formed your mushroom end, you don't undo these clamp bolts. You literally just take this bit out, turn it round, put it back through, and then nip it up again, and that crushes what was a convex shape into a concave shape. But I'll demonstrate that in a moment. But let's just get this out and you can see what it's done. So those are the indentations from the clamp, but that doesn't matter. There you have a nicely formed union end. To get really nice ends like that, it's really worth taking the time when you cut it to make sure you cut through perpendicular with a hacksaw. Then I use a file to file it dead perpendicular, and then I deburr it externally and internally. So you end up with a really uniform straight cut piece of pipe, which mates much better with the tool surface in there and makes a nice union end. And yeah, a little spray of WD-40 or some grease or something just to help lube it. Right, now I'm going to unwind that, put all my broken bits of pipe together to work out how much pipe I need, and then I'll find the other union which I have lost somewhere temporarily, and show you how to make the other end. So those are all my broken bits of pipe down there. That is my guesstimated length of how much I need. So I'm just going to cut it off as neatly as I can. So we're somewhere close to having a nice end. That's the other union cleaned up. So remember to thread him on first and then begin the forming process. So the process starts off exactly the same for the concave end as it did the convex. So you just again go most of the way in until it starts becoming quite stiff. Without releasing those two, undo this. Wow, still recording. Turn that back around. You can see the two indent grooves there, and basically what is currently a convex end, once that second line, I'm not explaining this very well, but there's plenty of videos on how to break brake lines on the internet. Once you've moved that line up and in, you can release it, and hopefully you'll have a nice new union. This tool is designed to actually be held by hand, hence the handle, and you can use it actually on the car, which is a godsend, but I prefer to do it all off the car if I can. There you go. Nice little union end with a concave seat, which means that it'll butt up nicely. I'm not going to fit that to the car now. That's probably going to be the end of today's videos because it's pretty grim, a bit damp and muggy, and I can't be bothered to do any more work today. So I'm going to go in, wash up, and upload this video. It's probably been quite a fragmented video, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So see you later.